at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. So be sure to hop on each and every week as I get to hear from some awesome people within the company. Today we are going to have Miss Yori Her on, but before we do that, we do just want to go ahead and give some recognition and go over kind of week 1 of October as we kind of go into week 4. So Christina is going to go ahead and pull up a PowerPoint and we're going to walk through that. All right, cool. So again, welcome to the team call. So we're in week 4 of October. If you're not familiar with how the actual weeks work within Family First Life, they start on Thursday and they end on Wednesday. So today is the last week, or today is week 4 of October. So we're going into the last week of October. So we have up until Wednesday to issue pay any business that we are hoping or gunning for this month. And then we will be going into November, which will also be a 4-week turn-in. But as of right now, we're in October. So this following Thursday, believe it or not, we'll be going into November. So just make sure if you're gunning for a goal that you're on top of it and you realize that this is the last week to get business issued and paid for October. All right, so October week 1 top producer. Congratulations to Yori Her. She's definitely not a stranger to the leaderboard at all. And then she's going to be on with us today. So Yori issued right under $10,000 in week 1 of October. That means that a little under $10,000 was deposited into Yori's bank account just in week 1 of October. So it just speaks volumes there. Also, she just broke up to FFL Focus, meaning that her and her group issue paid over $100,000 of business as a team. So congratulations again on that. We're super excited to be in business with you, Yori. We love you. We care so much about you. And we know how much you care about the people on your team. So thanks for being in business with us. And then we're going to go through top 5 issue paid agents for week 1 of October. So again, this is only week 1 of October as the numbers kind of trickle in every Thursday. So we should have week 2 later on today. But in terms of top 5 for week 1, we have Yori at about 9,800, Zach at about 72, Ryan at about 72, Rami at about 72. It's funny how all 3 of you guys' numbers are almost identical. And then Nicole, congratulations to you, Nicole. I know you are a first-time writer, so awesome job issue paying $6,600 in your first week. That's amazing. If you can do it once, you can do it a million times, so way to go. And this week that passed the state exam on our group, we had Dylan, Heather, Anthony, and Amy. So congratulations to all of you guys. I see 2 of you are out of Pennsylvania, which is great, out of Indiana, and Amy, you're out of California. So congratulations, welcome to the team. Anything we can do to help you guys get up and going, that's what we're here for, but super excited to see you guys moving past that exam. So let's get some leads in your hands and you guys helping families, but way to go, congratulations. And October week 1, first-time writers within our group. We had Nicole, again, leading the way for first-time writers at about 6,700. We had Gilbert, Javon, Tyler, George, and Samantha. So amazing job, guys. Again, if you can do it 1 time, you can do it a million times. You could do it 100 million times. So just keep tracking, your course, keep following up with your upline, reaching out for help and doing all the right things. So congratulations on having your first piece of business issued and paid in the week 1 of October. And no stranger here to this slideshow, so to say, or just in general. Yori Her, top weekend producer for October week 3. Yori submitted about $8,300 over the weekend. Not too bad for 2 days of work. So awesome job, Yori. You never fail to impress me. And for October week 1, we were the top agency within the FFL West Coast hierarchy. So congratulations to the whole team. It takes a team to actually, make something work and to move in the right direction. So thank you guys for plugging in. Thank you guys for doing the right things week in, week out, and just helping families. Like that's what it's all about, At the end of the day, we make incredible money here, and the money we make is insane. Sometimes I'm like, is this real, and I've been doing this for some time, but it's really just about how many families can we help? Because at the end of the day, when your phone rings and you file your first death claim, you might be like, oh, I'm here for the money. But after 3 months of, issuing 20, 30, 40, 50 grand, you have to have a bigger why, a bigger sense of why you're here, a bigger sense of purpose. Or when you sit down and you have that dial day that seems tedious, or you have that field day that seems tedious, whatever it might be, then you're going to have a way out, right? Because your why isn't strong enough. So keep your why right in front of you, and just way to work together. Way to collaborate with one another, reaching out and just plugging in. So the people I noticed that did best in week 1 of October were the people who really plugged in. They reach out for help. They call with questions. They call in the home when they're with their clients to make sure that they're going in the right direction. So way to go, team. I'm super proud of you guys. Super proud of what's going into your bank account, and super proud of what you're doing to help the families around you. So awesome job, guys. And then to wrap up this slideshow here and then to get Yori on, so upcoming events, you guys are going to see this event as it is huge. It's at the Dream City Church in Arizona, which is absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful place. More importantly, it's going to be a sales training. If you live on the west side of the country, we can say, please get yourself there. Please, please, please get yourself there. And if you're going to be there, please reach out to me so we can plug you into the team that is going to be there. Christina and myself will not be at that event, as we will be doing an event here in Massachusetts, so on the east side of the country, if you will. And if you're on the east side of the country, we would love to have you. As you can see, it's our fall sales conference. It's going to be at the Holiday Inn in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. So again, if you're going to be making it to that, please reach out and let us know, and we'll be more than happy to see you. And we'd be more than happy to have you speak too. So please reach out. Let us know if you're going to be able to get there or which event you are going to be going to. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and transition to some questions with Yori. Hey, Yori, how are you doing?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me, by the way.
Absolutely. Thanks for being on with us today. So I know that every time that I get to speak to you, I learn a lot. So I'm super excited for this call today. If anybody doesn't have a pen and paper, just to cloud on Yori, if you're not familiar, which you probably are. Last month, Yori issued just about $75,000 on her own personal pen, which is absolutely amazing. Yori didn't just do this one time. She does it month in, month out. She's always, well over $40,000 in issue paid business on her own personal pen. And, to Yori, $40,000 in a month, that's not good, right? But Yori, it is good, by the way, but Yori is consistently issuing at a very, very high level. So super excited to have you with us today. And as I had mentioned, Yori also just had her logo breakout FFL Focus, which I think is an amazing name, and also just goes to show actually how focused Yori is, and that's the kind of people she's looking to work with. So I'm super excited to be with you today. But just to kind of jump into things quickly, Yori, if you don't mind giving a quick background to anybody who maybe doesn't know who you are, kind of who you are and what got you into FFL and what it looks like now.
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Yuri Her. I've been licensed as an agent less than 2 years. It hasn't even been come up for renewal yet. So long story short, I was in the fashion industry for a very long time, and then I just got burnt out, didn't feel appreciated, and then I came across this opportunity of helping people insurance. So I joined the practice company, and I was there for less than a year, and then I heard of FFL, and then the thing that got me was that the comp here goes up to 145, and I was getting 50 there, and I was just working my butt off, and I worked really hard to make $100,000, and it was so celebrated. But I've never been that broke in my life, because in Southern California, $100,000 is really not a lot of money. So when I heard FFL, I mean, why not, right? There was absolutely no reason why I shouldn't. So I crossed over, and I actually joined September of last year, and yeah, here we are. It's been a year. It's been 13 months, and I love it. I talk about it all the time. I'm sorry. I'm either working or thinking about work or dreaming about work, or like now all my friends are like, you guys, like, it's just consumed my life voluntarily, and I love it.
Absolutely. And when it's on a voluntary basis, and you're getting paid what you're worth, that's when we start to love it, right?
Yeah.
So, just to kind of jump into some things. So I know that there's a lot of new agents on the call, and you not being a new agent that long ago, right? Just, like you said, 13 months ago. And Yori also has hit Hall of Fame, which means she issued over 400,000 on her own personal pen. And she did that in the month of September. So it didn't even take her the full calendar year to do it. So with that being said, Yori, what does your lead order kind of look like now, or what are you spending, and what did it look like before in terms of when you were still writing 20, 30, 40,000, but you are now writing more like 50, 60, 70, 80, or 100. So kind of what did your lead order look like coming in, and what does it look like now, and what were some things that kind of shifted and adjusted as you kind of went through your journey?
So when I first started, I was just super eager because I truly believe the more leads I buy, the more money I'm going to make. But I didn't have a system. And first of all, I wasn't really good at following the system. So I would go on CRM and buy leads every single day, just like whatever I could find, because in my area, it's saturated, as are a lot of places. So there wouldn't be as many. So anytime I saw anything, I would just buy it up. And you know how it goes, right? Like you have to call the leads, you have to work the leads right away. So I was also calling every day, and you can't book appointments more than 2 days out. So I was also booking every day, which means I had appointments every day. So, I mean, dialing and like appointments and everything, I was doing all of that every single day. And I was just getting so burnt. I mean, I was making money like 20, 30, starting probably from like the first or second month. But I had no time and I didn't know what I was doing. And it just honestly almost burnt me out because I wasn't following the system. So, and then, like I got in touch with, like Marissa actually reached out to me, and, like she's obviously helped me before, but I don't think I was ready to be totally coachable, because I probably figured like, oh, I can figure this out on my own, right? Like, with my 11-month experience in the industry, go figure. So so that's when I started like following a strict schedule, calling on dial days, or I do a lot of travel trips, so if I can't stick to a dial day, I make my own dial day. But either way, I'm calling one day for the next 2 days, and then the next day for the next 2 days. So then I wasn't dialing and doing appointments every single day. I had a structure. And that's when my income really started to grow. And I just can't stress that enough. In the beginning, the system is so easy. Sometimes it can trip you up. Like, are you kidding? That's all I have to do? And you're like, no, there's gotta be something. So maybe you try to do some extra things other people. You try to like sprinkle in your thing, and then at the end of the day, like you realize, oh, okay, everybody's doing this for a reason. Like when you see the company numbers, there's hundreds of new writers every single week, and there's hundreds of people writing over $20,000 every single week. So it's not a mistake that everyone's doing the same thing. It's because people have tried different things, and it doesn't work, and this is the best, most efficient way. So in terms of leads, like I cannot stress this enough. I can talk about it for hours. The ROI is just mind-blowing. So, and I'm gonna be the first to say, in my first batch of leads, I made zero money. And I was like, okay, I have to work this batch until I make my money back, right? Because this is a business, right? So in my mind, it's like, as a business, you have to make back what you put in. And I was milking the leads, and of course it wasn't working. But to put it shortly, sometimes I buy leads that are, $11, and then I've made $11,000 off of $11. Sometimes I buy leads that are $72. I make zero money, and that's okay. On to the next. Sometimes I buy $23 leads and I make $6,000. One time I bought a $56 lead, and I wrote $57,000. So if you're talking about ROI, some of these numbers, of course, it's zero, but some of these numbers, it's like 1,000 times over. So
and you're right. I want to
yeah.
pause you right there because I think that's just so crucial. It's like, your ROI, you're gonna see it, right? But when we buy our leads, there's a reason they're called leads, right? Because we have to convert them to sales. And we
Mhm.
all know that they're not all going to convert to sales, but at the same time, some of them are going to. So we're kind of finding our sales when we're making our dials and going to our appointments. So with that being said, you're basically saying any lead type you've had a crazy ROI on it, no matter if it was a dollar lead or if it was a $72 lead.
Mhm. It'll just all average out to at least 5 to 10 times. That's just how it works. I don't know how it works that way, but every single time the average is always 5 to 10. So it's actually funny, like I can't even buy shoes anymore because I used to, buy fancy shoes, and then like I can't do that anymore because $1,000 I can turn that into 10,000. Like heck no, I'm not gonna spend 1,000 on shoes when I can turn that into 10,000 like this week in the bank. So so I think Marissa and I talked about this before. Like we don't shop anymore. We can't.
Yeah, it's perspective of this is going to make us more money versus we're going to
Yeah.
spend more money now, right? And I love how both of our perspectives have changed of that, since kind of getting even into the industry. So I love
Yeah.
seeing your change of perspective on that. And you talked a bit about kind of how you didn't really have the most structured schedule in the beginning and you were kind of, all over the place, so to say. And I feel like that can be almost the biggest pitfall. And I remember talking to you and you told me like you said, you were dialing every day and you were running and you were dialing and you were running and you were making it happen. But like you said, you were burning yourself out, right? So what would you say are some of the important things that you've seen come out of running, a disciplined or strict schedule that maybe you didn't see when you weren't running that kind of schedule, but you were also kind of blind to it because you never ran the actual schedule that you should be running?
I think you're just every day you're just more efficient. Like if you focus on just dialing, you're gonna dial until you hit your goal number of appointments, right? But if you're dialing and then appointments and everything and you're getting interrupted every couple of hours, it's obviously not gonna be as efficient. And like on the field too, sometimes a bad appointment, it's all in the mindset. So one bad appointment can be the fuel to like close the next one. But if you're doing like one or two a day, it's for me, it's not as efficient. And then my business, like it's not predictable because it's just all over the place. You can't see the big picture. But if you stick to dial days, you know how many appointments you booked, and then we all have a closing ratio. So if you have the number of appointments booked, you know how much you're going to make because it always just works out the same. So, and then also on a personal level, like I'm able to schedule things outside of work if I want to, like go to Pilates or whatever. Like I have set time where I can spend on myself and like with my husband and on my family. So there's just overall balance in all aspects of my life just because I'm sticking to this schedule and it's actually making me more money and giving me more time.
Absolutely. So it's making
Yeah.
sure you can kind of collapse those appointments into 1 or 2 days versus you would have maybe spread them out over 7 days,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that can be
Yeah.
exhausting because if 1 or 2 appointments fall through, then you feel like you're working every day, 24 hours a day, and you can never catch a break, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you kind of learn that sticking to the schedule. And once you started doing that, with a couple of other tweaks, now you're issuing, 3-4 times that amount. So it just kind of speaks volumes of what that looks like and why it should look that way. And I love how you mentioned scheduling personal time, like with your husband, scheduling, Pilates. Those things are still important, right? So it's not just about
Mm-hmm.
scheduling, business. It's about scheduling your whole life around everything else, right? So
Yeah.
getting those non-negotiables in and then working everything around it, right?
Yes. Yep.
I hear you.
Definitely.
And what does a dial day look like for you? I think sometimes when new agents come in, they think like, oh, like, Yori probably just makes like 10 dials and books like 10 appointments in 10 minutes. Like, how many dials are you usually making? Are you usually making, 100, 200, 300, or are you making, 10, 20, or 30?
Probably 100 numbers, so 300 dials, but basically I don't have a number. It's just however many I need to dial to get my 15, 16 appointments. So Yeah, there's like a formula, but it's a formula that just has like an equal sign and an answer, and there's like no beginning part. Like you do whatever it takes to get your numbers, to get 15 appointments, because you know some of them are gonna get rescheduled or canceled or no show. I still get porched and no showed. Like it's less than before, but like I still go through that, and like I'm sure everybody on here who's ever been on the field has gone through that. And it's just, it's just whatever it takes to get your number of appointments, because that tells you how much money you're going to make that week. And it's never wrong.
You're right. It is never wrong. And I love that you said, I don't really know how many dials I make, but I know I probably make like 300. And you said you just dial until, right? And when you can bring yourself to be disciplined enough to dial until you have those 15 or 16 appointments, you're always going to win here. And that's why you win, Yuri, is because you're not leaving until you have X amount of appointments, right? You're not going to go in the field with 1 or 2 appointments now that that just doesn't make logical sense. Love it. Love it, love it. So, I think a lot of people have questions about your in-home, because you are always setting 16 appointments, you're always helping families, you're working, you're so structured. Is there a consistent way that you have of maybe introducing yourself when you go into a home, or is there like a consistent that you have when you go into every home that might be able to help structure for a new agent, or just what that might look like for you?
So it's basically the structure is the same. We go in, she's on or off. We're like inviting ourselves in, and most of the time people say on, and then you're like, okay, where's the kitchen table? And then you go set up your stuff. And then you only build rapport. I only build rapport while I'm setting up my iPad and stuff, just because it's awkward. Like if you see a family picture on the way, you mention something, or like a pet or something, but you get down to business. And then I show them their lead card on my iPad, and I'm like, can you just verify that all this information is correct? And then if it's a handwritten mailer, I ask them to verify that it's their handwriting. And always it's their handwriting or their spouses. And then let's get down to business. I take out my driver's license. I take out my state license on my iPad. And then what I do is when I tie down the appointment over the phone, I make them write down my confirmation number, which is my license number. And most of the time I text them like the confirmation, like date, time. And then also it has the confirmation number, which is my license number. So I ask them to show that to me. And then I have them see that it matches my license number. And then I say, this is, I am who I say I am. And I am licensed with the state of California to underwrite your life and disability protection plan. And then you'd be surprised, this, like the state license, right? Like we've all passed. It's really not that hard to get. It's just a matter of putting in the hours. But showing people that license gives you instant credibility and instant authority. I'm just surprised every single time. And then they spell out their entire life, information, over with that just one license. So then I get, I do the role and purpose, and actually it's exactly Marie says, because last September last year, as she was doing it, I typed it out. So I have a Word file of it, and then it's just exactly from not to be invasive, and we all have a budget. I do, you do, the guy down the street does, like exactly the same. I bet you if I said it right now, you would say the same thing. And then at first with appointments, it's you have to remember we're doing 8 appointments, 10 appointments a day, right? And we conducted the exact same way. We say the exact same thing. So sometimes in the beginning, I felt a little strange about it. Wow, maybe I'm not trying hard enough, or I'm getting off too easy. I'm just doing the same thing. It's like a performance, and then you perform 10 times. But you have to remember, these people, it's their first time meeting you. So I wear the same stuff all the time, because they're never gonna, they haven't seen me yesterday wear the same stuff. And I do the same thing. So it's just a matter of just practice and getting good at it. And then when I do the financial inventory, what I do every single time is after I ask the mortgage amount and stuff like that, and income and all of that, the financial part, I always ask, so aside from your mortgage, is there anything any major expenses that you pay every month. And I say it like that, like, do you have any other major expenses, instead of what is your next biggest expense? And then this not only tells you, you know, you have your budget and then you have their mortgage. So it kind of tells you how much room they have to play with. But more importantly, it tells me, when you phrase it like that, a lot of the people will say, oh yeah, my car payment is $500. Like my credit card is like $400, cell phone, 200, whatever it is. When you phrase it like, do you have any other major expenses? That gives you a number that the client thinks is a big expense. So for me, I don't ever want to quote them something higher, because if their financial situation changes at any time, which it often can, that's going to be the first thing that they're going to let go, because it's their biggest expense after their mortgage. So when I get that number, like, oh yeah, my biggest expense is 500, then I make sure like every option I offer them is less than 500. And that's just something that I do, and it gives me a range of where to play in. And then I do the medical questions part, and then I ask, you know, the family history, like, you know, family medical history. And then they're going to say, if they have a parent that was deceased from an illness or something, they're going to say it. So when they do, I always ask, did they have life insurance? And then if they say yes, then I say, that's great. You know, I'm sorry to hear that, but that's great. So do you feel that it helped you during that difficult time? And 100% they're going to say yes. And then if they say no, you say, you know, like, do you feel like that would have helped you get through that difficult time a little easier? And 100% they're going to say yes. Either way, they're going to say yes. And then you're just getting the client to verbalize that they need this. You know, like they're hearing themselves say, I need this because it either helped me or it didn't help me, and it really would have helped me. So that's kind of like cementing, like, okay, then they already said that, so they need to apply, right? So
Right. And just to take a step back really quick, because you're just so like you're great in home. And in terms of just going all the way back to kind of the credibility piece, you establish credibility right at the beginning, because throughout your in home, and correct me if I'm wrong, you don't want people to think like, oh, like, well, maybe she's not credible, or who is this girl, or maybe, you know, we can't trust her, or maybe it's a scam, or whatever, you know, people might be thinking. Maybe they had a bad experience with somebody else, right? So you're kind of making sure to nipping that in the butt right there, making sure that they know that they can have a good experience with you and that you are a credible person. And then going into your role and purpose, you know, that alleviates all of the objections on the front end, right? So
yeah.
like for you, Yuri, like after you go through your beginning part, are you usually getting the objection right then and there, or are you usually getting
No.
an objection at the end? Like if they're gonna
Well,
object you.
they when I tell them that we're going to apply, they all say, and I was like, I always say, like, does that sound fair? They all say yes. And then because they said yes, and because they know it's coming, after we do the inventory, and then, you know, I give them the options and they choose one, the next natural step is to just for me to get their information and to put it in, because that's what we agree we're going to be doing. So most of the time I don't get an objection,
Love it.
because I try to eliminate it upfront.
So you show that you do what you say you're going to do throughout the whole entire time, so you
Mm-hmm.
can be authentic, right? And it helps
Mm-hmm.
you probably through a lot of your questions too. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I love that you're saying outside the mortgage, any major expense, because like you said, you're able to kind of see exactly where their mindset's at versus a major expense to, you know, me, you, or, you know, again, the guy down the
Yeah.
street, right? So we kind of, you're able to gauge that a little bit. So I love that. That's great. And I also love the fact that you're asking, you know, about a loss, right? It's like basically through that loss, what did it look like? Did they have insurance? Did they not? And if they did, you're basically saying, how did that help you? Or if they didn't, you're saying, what did it look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all know that without insurance, it doesn't look good. And either way, they're going to see the value of it. So love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then another thing that I do in every single appointment, so these are things that I do in any appointment, whether it's final expense or mortgage or just life insurance, whatever. It's you have to tell, instead of providing like options of, okay, this is America HMS 125 and it's like $200. Like they don't know what 125 HMS is. To them, it's just a bunch of letters and numbers. Like they don't know what it is. So instead of selling it as a product and then a cost, you have to sell it as like what it can do for your family and the amount of coverage that's going to go to their beneficiary and how it's going to help. And I always tell this one story that I stole from my husband, who stole from a colleague at his other company, because my husband is also in insurance and he's been in insurance for a long time. So this is a true story. And then there was a gentleman that got $500,000 coverage, and that company doesn't have living benefits, but you know, every policy in California at least comes with terminal living benefits. So it had that, the accelerated death benefit. And then he got diagnosed with cancer, stage 4, and he was only given 6 months to live. So he got the 500,000 because terminal you get 100%. So he got it up front while he was alive, obviously tax-free. And then he was able to use that to fund better treatments for himself that he otherwise couldn't have afforded. And this is a true story. I tell it every time, and it's really important to sell the value by providing stories so they can imagine how that can apply to their life. So because of that, you know, doctor gave him 6 months. He ended up living 5 years. And you know, when you say that, like even now I got chills. Like, you know, every single time I get chills, like 10 times a day like when I'm on the field. 5 years, and then your client 100% will say, oh wow, you know, like they're just so amazed. And I'm like, you know what, that's not the best part. The best part is within those 5 years he was able to his daughter got married and he was able to walk her down the aisle. And it's just like, I feel like crying because both my parents were diagnosed with cancer, and that's such a big thing that we're providing for our clients. It's not about the money, but the money and the policy that we help that whoever that person is help them with. I mean, he got to see his daughter get married. His daughter now has a memory of like walking down the aisle with her dad, and you cannot buy that with money. So that's what we do here. And when you tell that story, there's female clients that like tear up. Everybody knows somebody who passed away from an illness or heard of somebody. It hits everybody. And it's just really important. Like as agents, we first have to realize what kind of work we do. It's really, really important. And for some people, we might be the last chance for them to get insurance. So these are the reasons why we can't, I don't want to call. Like nobody wants to do dial day, but that's why you have to do it. Like you have to go on the field. You have to go to your last appointment. Like, you know, like it's really important what we do. And you guys are free to share that story because it's been, you know, shared many times over. You know, it's not mine, it's not my husband's, but it's a true story. And then he said when he went to a training, the actual beneficiary, this daughter came and then shared that story. So can you just imagine what that agent did for that family? And like another personal story, like when I first started, I just only did instant leads on CRM. So I booked an appointment for it's you know, I figured it was going to be a final expense because he was an older gentleman, and I bought the lead. It was when I was calling every day, buying every day, so I called right away, and then I booked it for 2 days out because next day I was busy. So the day of the appointment, I went, I think it was like after lunch sometime, and then I knock on the door and then nobody's home. So I figured that I got no-showed or porched. And then, you know, I kept knocking and calling, no answer. And then his neighbor came out and then let me know that he like literally just had a stroke that morning, and then he's in the hospital. So if you guys think that what we do is hard, and or maybe it's not that important, or that it's a lot of work for, you know, not much profit or whatever, like what we do is really important. Imagine if, and I felt so guilty, but I knew it wasn't my fault. Like I did what I was supposed to do. I called right away. I booked 2 days out. But imagine if I had booked him the day before. Like imagine if I booked him the next day, then he would have gotten, you know, hopefully covered, approved for something, and then he would have suffered a stroke the next day. Not that, I don't wish that on anybody, but at least he would have had access to, critical benefit, or if he passed away, his family would have gotten that. And, after that point, I was never able to reach him again. So I actually still don't know what happened, but, like maybe something bad happened because I was never able to reach him again. So if you're just kind of not up to it, like not feeling the dials, remember this story, because after that point, I don't put anything off. It's
And
like, yeah.
that's huge right there, because you just brought up living benefits, you brought up how you relay them, and then also bringing up a story that you encountered on your own of going to a home where you're saying, maybe if I could have been there the day before, maybe this man could have been in a different situation, right?
Yeah.
And I hear you. So with that being said, that story that you tell, I recommend everybody steals it. I'm stealing it, so thank you.
Yeah, use it.
And I'm sure that that's when you're going into kind of explaining critical, chronic, and terminal illness, so living benefits.
Yeah.
So if you're brand new, living benefits are attached to a lot of term policies. And Yori, will you explain how you go through critical, chronic, and terminal illness? You share that story and kind of or backtrack from there of what that looks like and why it's so important to not forget that it's not only a death benefit, but it's a living benefit as well.
Yeah, so I actually, when I always, like, I have a story for each living benefit, and just because they're so, I have 3 policies, and mostly I got it for living benefit, right? So I really believe in what I'm selling. So chronic is when you can't do 2 out of the 6 daily basic activities, like continence, like feeding, and like clothing and stuff like that. And not only, it's more often used than not, because I know a client that was able to utilize that and tap into that when she got into a car accident, and then she couldn't do 2 of the 6 things. So chronic was one of those things, like I couldn't really put a picture to it. Okay, like when would somebody use it? Like maybe critical is more useful, but chronic is just as useful. So I explain it in that way, and then I tell the story of the car accident client, and then critical is heart attack, stroke, or cancer, or anything like that. So I tell the story that I just shared with the stroke, and unfortunately there's a lot of stories that any of us can share with critical, and it doesn't have to be something that you personally went through or something that your client went through. Like you can share stories, because it's just a lot easier for people to hear it through a story than just like reading off the benefits off of the brochure. Like you can't really relate that to your own life. So, chronic, critical, and then terminal is like if you're diagnosed with a terminal illness and then the doctor says, you don't have much to live, then you get your death benefit like up front. So for me, because personally I don't have kids, like all my life I've been like, well, life insurance is like after I die, and after I die, like I'm not here anymore. So like who's gonna use it? I don't even have kids, and I don't have plans so far. So, but like the reason why I have 3 policies is because of the living benefit. Like, and then a personal issue, but both of my parents, have and still have cancer. So like to me, it's just very personal and dear to me. And if anything happens to me for any reason, I just want to be prepared and I want to be ready. So, and you guys have to remember, people that have insurance, living benefits, it hasn't been around forever. It hasn't been around for decades. So most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, well, first of all, people don't even know if they have it or not, because the agent before them never really explains anything. And I'm sure you guys see that all the time. But most of the time, people don't have it. And so when you really just explain to them and provide value, what that can do for them and their families, it only makes sense for them to get it. I have a client right now that got declined because he has like mental conditions, and then he is dying to get living benefits. And then, I looked into everything, but he's not eligible. And he's like, okay, then can I get living benefits with the rollover? He lives in a $4 million house. Like, can I put in so much? I just want living benefit. So it's just about, it's such a powerful tool and everybody needs it. Most of the people don't have it and don't know what it is. So that whether your lead client is insured or isn't, it doesn't matter because everybody needs it.
Absolutely. I think that's a huge point on living benefits. Like you mentioned, they haven't been around forever and they're so, so, so important. Like you said you have 3 policies on yourself. You know,
Yeah.
Christina, I think, has like 15. I don't even know if Christina knows how many she has. You know, and same with myself, but it's because of that piece, right? Like, it's like, yes, we know that if something happens to one of us, you know, I don't have children, you know, you don't, and Christina doesn't, just as a quick example here. However, we all have a probability of becoming sick, right? Just like everybody else. So putting those in place for you, even if you weren't in insurance, it would have made sense, right? Because it wasn't about the death benefit. It's about the living benefit.
Yes.
I feel like oftentimes you can kind of drop the ball there if we go into a home where maybe somebody is, you know, single and they have a mortgage and they're like, oh, nobody's going to take it over. I don't care what happens when I die. Well, do you care what happens when you're alive, if you get sick or you get hurt? And usually they're with you there. So it's not
Yep.
all about just what happens when you die. It's about what can this do for you when you do die, but also what can it do for you while you're living? Because while you're living, if you have a big financial problem, it's going to become a bigger financial problem, as Yuri had just mentioned. And that story did give me chills about the gentleman who had terminal cancer and
Yeah.
you know, but that's amazing. And I feel like when you're in the home, you know, you just mentioned some consistent questions that you ask. I feel like you don't really have like a sales hat on, if you will. Like you don't go in there and you're not like, oh, like, so what do you think? Like, you know what I mean? Like you're not like, you know, the used car salesman on the lot, like just begging for the sale. It seems like through the questions you're asking, you almost have them asking you for the insurance at that point.
Yeah.
Right. And when you go through your options, you usually show 1 option or 2 or 3. What does that look like?
I show 3 options. So when I do mortgage protection, I show the full mortgage amount, and then I show half of the mortgage amount, and then I show like just accidental even, because if they can't afford anything, it's still better for them to be covered with the accidental. And then I say accidental after natural death and after illness. Accidental is the next biggest factor of death. And then I sprinkle in, you know, like I use a lot of Mutual of Omaha accidental, but America has it too. And Mutual of Omaha, the age limit is 70. So when I offer it, obviously the client is less than 70. So I always say, you know, because you're still young, even though you're like 69, you know, not saying that's old, but like I always like, because you're still young, there's a, you know, higher chance. Like, do you think that you're going to pass from an illness, you know, like there's a higher chance of them passing from an accident? And people agree, because if the client is not sick at the moment, that they can't picture themselves getting sick and passing away from it. So, you know, I provide them those 3 options. And then if it's final expense, then, you know, I go by like what I said, you know, with anything, what I said before, like I never try to go above the next biggest payment aside from their mortgage. And then I just provide, you know, however many months of coverage or whatever. So I tend to give them 3 options. And then when you give them the options, like your attitude and demeanor is very important. It's like very matter of fact. Like they said they wanted insurance and that's why you're there. So it's just a matter of them choosing. It's not a matter of them like, do I want it or not? Like if you didn't want it, I wouldn't have come over. So most of the time they choose the middle one. Sometimes they can't choose, and then I choose for them, most of the time middle one. And it's just very important, you know, sometimes when you're there and like they're choosing in the middle of choosing the coverage amount and premium amount, and then in your head you're like calculating, okay, this option is this much commission, this, I don't know if it's me, but like I can't help it, I do that, right? But most, like it's not about getting the highest commission in every home. Sometimes it's about getting the lowest commission so that they can keep it until they pass away. Like it doesn't matter if you make more money up front, because if the client can't keep it 2 years later, you actually did them a huge disservice, because now they don't have insurance And because they went through it before, most of the, like, there's a very, very high chance they're not going to go through it again. And then you just left that family hanging just because like you know, you didn't make the right professional decision. So yeah, so like to go back to your question, it's always three options, and usually they pick the middle. And I had one guy, like, he wanted the highest one, and then I like made him get the smaller one, like, you know, because the numbers didn't make sense. I didn't see him keeping it, and I said, why don't we, you know, start with this first, and then we can always add on later on. And people appreciate that. Like, people can smile a sales pitch from a mile, and people can smell a like sales pitch from a mile away. People can also smell desperation from a mile away. So, you know, you always have to keep your cool. You're helping them, they're not helping you, and it's the truth, because you're seeing 10 clients a day. And, you know, you might be the last insurance agent that walks through their door. So just, it's that attitude, like, you're helping them, so like, let's get to it because I'm busy.
Absolutely. I love that. So once you're showing options, you're getting the insurance. It's just a matter of which plan they're going to be getting.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I love how you use a story throughout everything. You know, stories really do sell because they make sense to people when we tell them. When others sometimes, you know, I've like went through like in the beginning and I'll be like, oh, so if you die, this is what you get. Does that make sense? Yeah. And they're like, and they don't even get it by the end. I'm going through like critically, you know what I mean? So just taking your time and explaining it too is super, super important. But just to kind of wrap up the call, I wanted to wrap up with, you know, you've hit Hall of Fame at this point, and I know that that was one of your personal goals for the year, which is amazing. So proud of you for that. It definitely doesn't go unnoticed. You just work so hard month in and month out. But what is your goal for finishing up the year for personal production? What do you want to finish at now that you've already hit that 400,000 and beyond? And what do you want your goal for your team to be looking like to close out 2021?
So definitely I'm going to write 500,000 at least and up. And that's going to be like, you guys, with our high comp, like that's like, I don't know, like 600,000, right? Like in the bank. It's just crazy. So my goal, personal goal, is at least 500,000. There's 3 more months. So, you know, I got to get going. It's going to get done. And then as a team, I want to hit SVP 300,000 by end of the year. And then I have awesome people on my team, and I know they can hit Hall of Fame if that's their goal. I want to help as many people hit Hall of Fame as possible, not because of the recognition, none of that matters, but just the fact that it's possible. So I started in this company, like within this team, September of 2020. And then that was the month that Marisa hit Hall of Fame. Like, and I'm like, I'm happy, I'm proud, like we hit it in the same month. So you can imagine, I was at such a low comp, you know, working my butt off to make 100,000, and I come here, and then basically like first couple of days I find out my like just a person on my team, I didn't even really know Marisa that well, like person on my team wrote 400,000 in 9 months, and I was just blown away, and I was like, okay. But that's when I found out it was possible. So that's when it became my goal to also hit Hall of Fame in my first year. So I think association is really important. And, you know, like this business starts from us, and it's from us down. Like, you know, you shouldn't ever like blame anything. Like, you know, so like I think personally, if you do something good, it's like because you got helped, but if you do something bad, it's your business, you know, it starts from you. So it's just all you. But like, I'm really thankful that Marisa showed me that it's possible, and that became my goal, because otherwise I wouldn't even have known that it was possible. So now that Marisa did it, and because of Marisa showing me it's possible, I made it my goal and I did it. And then because of that, like I have like awesome women on my team, and I know they're gonna hit Hall of Fame because they just saw 2 other women hit it. Like it's already a done deal. And it's just a huge thing, you know, associations are crucial. So like I know it's hard, and you know, it's still hard for me. And then last week I was talking to Zach and Evan, and I'm like, guys, I suck. And they're like, what do you mean you just hit Hall of Fame? Like, how are you telling us that you suck when you just got announced for Hall of Fame? I'm like, yeah, I know, but I suck. You know, it just means that if I can do it, anybody can do it. You know, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard. Like, I'm in a rental car right now because while I was on the field last month, a drunk guy hit me and my car is in the shop. And like, I've gone through so many like car issues on the field, but it's all about the mindset. Like, if you it's like, it's not happening because you're on the field. It's happening because I'm driving 3,000 miles a month, which is 3 times the normal amount, and it's just inevitable. It's just going to happen. So get over it, just get it worked out, and then just move on. So, you know, things will happen, like life happens, and, you know, it's just the mindset. Just get going, and you know, like, you can reach out to me anytime, and like, I love getting to know people. It doesn't even matter like whose team you're on, and nobody even knows here, right? Because we're just one team. So yeah, it's just like, you know, my goals, everybody has goals, and it's really, really important to, you know, have a clear goal and also track it, because without tracking it, like, you don't know, you don't really have a goal, you just have a wish.
Right. I love that. You don't have a goal, you have a wish. Exactly. So keep tracking it, change, tweak, adjust. And with you hitting Hall of Fame, there's no doubt in my mind you're going to have a ton of people on your team hitting Hall of Fame in 2022. No
Yeah.
doubt. I know that you'll hit it. I'm just super, super excited for you, for your group. You have some amazing people that have gotten started and are getting started. So that SVP, that 300,000 a month, you are well on your way there. I'm just really excited for you. And in terms of association, I just want to touch on this quickly because I live in Boston, Massachusetts, and Yuri lives out in California. So we're on complete opposite sides of the country. However, Yuri, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I will say is I talk to Yuri probably every day, and our relationship has grown because of it. So wherever you physically are, it doesn't matter. Reach out to anybody within the company, within the group. Everybody really truly does want to help other people here. So it doesn't matter where you geographically live. It just matters who you're willing to reach out to. So reach out, reach up, and Yuri, thank you so much for being on. You added so much value. I know there's some things I'm going to be tweaking and adjusting for my in-home. So anything else you want to add before we hop off?
Just run it like a business. You know, like, business, you need inventory to make money. Without inventory, you're just the business that's waiting to close its doors, you know, like, so. And for us, inventory is leads. So the most important thing is to just consistently buy new leads every single week on the same days, just to set up a structure, whether it's they come in automatically or whatever. And, you know, if you buy the lead, you're going to want to make your money back because you already spent the money. That's all you have to do. And then from that, consciously, and then from that point on, like, it'll work itself out, you'll get it done. So, you know, it's inventory. Like, if you don't have inventory, you're not a business. So just run it like a business, and then, you know, reach out, ask for help. Do you guys have, like, I think my number is on Slack, so like, you can go to my profile, my number's there. Marisa and Christina, I reach out every single day, like multiple times a day. It's like, I feel like the third sister, like, I'm always talking to them. And that's when my business really grew. So guys, like, I know it can be hard. Sometimes it's unbelievably easy, where it's kind of ridiculous. Like, you work for 1 hour and make like $5,000, and like, how is that even possible? Sometimes, like, some days, like, for me too, like 8 appointments and like all no closes. And then, you know what? That just means the next day you're gonna have a great day. So just run it like a business. Don't get too emotional. Don't get too attached. Like, don't get too excited because you have a good day, and then really bummed out because you have a bad day, because it's bad days will come. Like, you're not gonna get. They're just. It's, you know, it's part of the business. But I think that's why this business has really helped me become a better person. Like, I'm more patient around other people. Like, it's just, I'm more driven. Like, I say what I'm gonna say, what I say I'm gonna do. Like, I do what I say I'm gonna do. Like, everything overall. So, you know, I'm so happy to have everybody here, and like Marisa and Christina, they're awesome at what they do. And you guys know that, but I can't say that enough. So just get going. Just let's run businesses. You guys, you know, there's like however many, 45 people on here. That means legitimately, there's 45 companies, corporations on here. Because Marissa, Christina have a corporation, I have a corporation. I know Judy has like, if you're making money, like you need a corporation. It's 45 business entities on this meeting. Don't treat it like a hobby. It's a business. So sometimes I
Amen to
can be,
that.
yeah, I can
And
be blunt, but
And Yuri, if I can touch on one last thing that I remember that you said you were at the California conference and you were speaking on stage, and
yeah.
you were talking about leads, and you said, I think Paul asked you something along the lines of, like what happened when you started getting more leads, and you were like, the more leads I got, the happier I got, right?
Yeah, leads make me happy. I get
Because
so
leads
happy.
leads make your life easier. They help you set more appointments. You sit with more families, you help more families, and you make more money, right? And that also
Uh-huh.
helps you balance yourself out in terms of personal. Like you said, you're more patient with people. You speak your mind. You do what you say you're going to do. All of those things. So it's just great to see you develop not only in the business but as a person, and I let you help me develop as a person each and every day. So I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being on today. It's a great call. I know I got a ton out of it. I hope everybody else did as well. And I hope you have an awesome rest of the day, guys. Thanks for
Thank
being on,
you.
Yuri.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody. Reach out if you guys need
Thank
anything. Take
you.
care.